estate cars. They used to be the sort of de facto practical family car of choice. Well, that was until everyone started loving SUVs. And it seems odd that people have gone away from estates. I mean, they make a lot more sense than SUVs if you think about it. They occupy the same sort of footprint as the saloon or hatchback equivalents. They're lower to the ground, which means they handle better because they've got a lower centre of gravity. And the load lip isn't as high, so you're not lugging stuff into a big high SUV. So why don't we still have more estate cars? And why has no one done an electric one? Well, someone has. And it comes from an unlikely source. MG. Now, before we get on to a review of the new MG5 EV, it's my job to tell you to please like and subscribe the videos and press the little bell button to receive notifications of when the next one's uploaded. It's really important that you do that, and if you do like and subscribe our videos, then me and my colleagues will come around your house and cook and clean for you for the next 6 months. We probably won't do that, but if you could like and subscribe, we'd appreciate it. So this is the MG5, and it's MG's version of a car called the Rowe EI5. MG and Rover were bought by the Chinese many years ago, and Rover became Rowe, and that's part of the SAIC along with MG, which is the Shanghai Automotive Corporation, which ironically is sort of China's version of British Leyland. Anyway, this is the car we get here in the UK, the MG5. And unlike its ZS sibling, the little crossover we featured before, it only comes as an electric variant. There's no internal combustion engine versions available for this car in the UK. But is it any good? Well, that's what we're going to find out. Well, it's a bit forgettable looking, isn't it? I mean, this would be a perfect car for criminals. When the police come along for witnesses and say, what kind of car were they driving? You go, well, it was a blue estate car, officer. What make? No idea. It could be anything, really, if you take the badge off it. I mean, would a red pinstripe be too much to ask? Some slightly nicer alloys? I mean, it is what it is, so that's what we have. They're just a little bit, yeah. In fact, it's almost got all, I don't know, if you stand back and squint a little bit, it's almost got a kind of older generation Volkswagen Passat look about it. Possibly. There's nothing really to surprise and delight. I mean, you get some nice kind of daytime running lights, LED, those. The charging port is concealed behind the big octagon badge. Ooh, calm down, I hear you all say. But yeah, it's just a bit, never mind. And it's pretty much the same from this angle. I mean, you get this quite nice kind of shoulder crease that runs along the length of the car, some chrome work on the side, and the door handles and the satin finished roof rails on this exclusive model. Ooh, 16-inch alloy wheels, fairly big profile tyres, which helps the ride a little bit, I suppose, but yeah, it's just a bit nondescript. The back of the car's quite nice and neat, isn't it? You get your nice LED tail lights, you get this lovely chrome strip across the back, your big MG octagon, big roof spoiler. There's no fake exhaust pipes either, which is quite nice. It's all nicely finished down at the bottom here. The one thing in this car that's been driving me insane this week, and it's just my old car salesman OCD kicking in, why fit this big plate with this holder on it that just covers the back badge? If you do buy one of these, get the dealer to fit a shaped plate so it doesn't do that. I mean, that's just poor detailing. But as I say, that's my OCD kicking in there. But that's probably, in some ways, the best angle of the car. Yay, the suitcases are back. Now this is where things do start to improve a little bit, folks, because it is quite a practical car. Boot space on the car with the seats up in place is 464 litres, and you've got the 60-40 split rear seat that extends the space up to 1,456 litres with them folded down. So here's a large case in there, a medium case in there, and a small cabin bag goes in there, along with my camera bag. So that's pretty good. You've still got space to spare. Charging cables, come in this bag, which is nice and handy. So that sits there. The only downside is there is no real underfloor storage to keep that bag in, so a little bit of a black mark there. And the only thing I would say as well is there's a tiny little bit of a drop there. It's not a flat load entry, but it's okay. It's a nice size practical car. The other downside is with the back seats though. And this is what I mean. Whilst you do have the split fold seat, it folds just down onto the squab. So you can't fold the squab up and get a nice flat base. So you've got this ramp up, which, okay, it's not ideal, but you know, at least it gets the folding rear seat. Anyway, apart from that, the space is okay. Obviously, shorty myself, I've got good leg room here, set up for me. I've got good headroom. This car doesn't come with the big panoramic roof that the ZS does, and that's a little bit of a shame because actually it would give the cabin a real nice ambience in here. The only real downside is with the feet. They're slightly tight underneath the driver's seat. Now obviously I've got the seat set up for me, and I like the seat quite low in the car. So obviously if it was up a little bit, there'd be a bit more space, but then the driving position wouldn't be right for me. However, it's okay, and you've got a flat floor in here as well. You've got a couple of USB charging ports. You've got obviously the seat backs here. You've got a nice little folding armrest with cup holders in here for my daughter's water bottle, and of course we've got the twin Isofix fittings on the back seat. So all in all, it's okay. So what do we have in here? Well, again, it's another sort of neat, inoffensive place to sit without any real kind of design or styling flourishes, but it's comfortable. We've got the nice 3-spoke steering wheel. This is, as I said, this is the exclusive model. There's 2 models in the range, which I'll come on to later, the lower trim level Excite, and this one, the exclusive, which you get this leather look seat trim, if you like, which would be, I mean, this would be a perfect car as a mini cabber. I mean, it really would, and this leather would work quite nicely. You have to clean things up in the early hours of a Sunday morning, although the perforations might take some of the, if you know what I mean. Anyway, it's okay. It's comfortable. One of the criticisms I had of the ZS was the lack of under thigh support, and I'm pleased to say this isn't the case with the 5. The seats give nice cushioning just under my thighs there. The driving position's okay. As I say, I've got the seat way down, and it still feels like it maybe I'd like to drop it a little bit further, but maybe that's just me. Maybe for most people it's all right. You've got a reach and rake adjustable steering wheel. Column stalks are nice and easy to hand. You've got the infotainment screen, which is built into the dashboard here. The car comes with standard Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is nice. It does have navigation, DAB and Bluetooth. The screen's just it's a bit laggy. So thankfully it does have the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, because that's what I would then rely on, if I'm honest with you, because yeah, that's not ideal. That should be quicker than that. Anyway, dashboard's nice and easily laid out. You've got the nice big, so you've got sort of 2 semicircular analog dials at the side with a digital display in the middle, which, you know, tells me my speed. It can also tell me state of battery charge as well, trip meter, all the stuff that I get from scrolling through on the little wheel here, on the controls on the steering wheel here. You can control the radio from here. Yeah, see, that's the navigation just loading up now, so not really ideal. It's well equipped. This particular car, as I say, the exclusive, I've got heated seats as standard. Thank you, MG, for putting auto climate control on this. That my biggest bugbear of the ZS, and I ran a ZS for a few months as a long-term test car, was it was just basic air conditioning. We've got automatic climate control here, and the controls are nicely laid out here. On the centre console. We've also got the rotary transmission driver, which I quite like. Reverse, neutral and drive by twisting it and pressing it for park. You get the 3 buttons along here. Mode, which we'll see when we're driving. Economy, normal and sport. Cares, which is to adjust your brake regeneration. And then obviously the battery button there, so you can see your state of charge, which is nice. Got an electronic handbrake here. There's a little cubby there and there for my mobile phone. This, what looks like an ashtray underneath here, has got your 2 USB ports and a 12-volt socket. It's not quite as neat as the ZS, because there was a little tray underneath there where you could feed your cable through and keep your phone in there. You've got to leave a cable dangling out, but I suppose that's nitpicking really. I've got a small kind of cubby box in there. The cabin itself, in terms of its build quality, is acceptable. That's the word I'm going to use. There's slightly harder, scratchy plastics here, but then they've used quite nice kind of soft touch kind of vinyl there, and then on the armrest. So it's a real kind of mixed bag. It feels well screwed together. This press car's done, you know, over 3,500 miles, and it's probably been 3,500 reasonably hard miles, given it's a press car. And everything seems to still be well screwed together. But as I say, just some of the materials, I think on the next car you'd want to see less scratchy plastic and just a little bit nicer, you know, bits and pieces inside. But on the whole, as a family car, does the job. Now, it would have been dead easy for MG just to put the same battery pack as they've done in the ZS into the 5, but thankfully they haven't. It's a 52.5 kilowatt hour battery, which should, according to WLTP figures, give a range of up to 215 miles. MG actually say if you were just to stick within the city limits, you could possibly stretch it up to 265. Don't quite see that myself, but never mind. As I said before, charging is done through here. You get your standard CCS charging as well. Now, the car will take up to 80% charge in round about 50 minutes from a rapid charger. It's a little bit down on normal, but not the end of the world. From your 7 kilowatt wall box, you're probably looking at charging about 8 hours, so overnight. So how does the MG5 drive out on the road? Well, pretty much the same as its styling. Neat, if a little bit forgettable. It's not dynamic, of course, it's not going to be dynamic. I mean, okay, you've got 156 rampaging stallions trying to gallop their way out through the front wheels, and it does do a 0 to 60 time of under 8 seconds, so it's perfectly acceptable as far as a small 5-door family car is concerned. And in terms of its ride comfort, as I said earlier, the seats are nice and supportive, and it has got reasonably compliant suspension as well. The tyres help. The 205 65 16s, I think, and so it's got quite a big profile on them, so they do, you know, it doesn't crash through a lot of bumps. Yes, it's not as pillowy a ride as the Citroen C4 that we tested the other week, but nor would I expect it to be. That's not, but that doesn't show the MG in a bad light. It shows the Citroen have done a really good job with that car. This is perfectly acceptable in terms of the type of car that it is and what you would want it to actually do. You do sometimes get the odd intrusion coming through into the cabin, you know, a particularly aggressive pothole or expansion joint, but no more so than you would in any of the other cars in this sort of class. What is disappointing, however, and I know I'm one for turning them all off anyway, but is the lack of driver aids with this car. Now, MG with the ZS do a thing called MG Pilot, which does the lane keep assist, the blind spot assist, and on the higher exclusive model, rear cross traffic alert. There's none of that on the MG5. It's cruise control, but that's it. It's not distance cruise control. There's no lane keep assist. There's no blind spot monitoring. That's a little bit of a black mark, I think, given, as I say, that it's on the others. And it can't be that difficult to fit, surely. Well, there you go. It doesn't have it. Otherwise, in terms of its comfort, as I was saying, it's pretty good. It's quite refined. Wind noise is kept down. There's certainly not much suspension and road noise intruding into the car either. That's pretty much kept in check. Driving position is relatively comfortable. As I say, I'd like to drop it, the seat an extra couple of centimetres for myself, but as I say, I think plenty of people will find it okay. There's certainly plenty of room. Everything's nice and easy to see. You know, there's good visibility around me. You know, you've got the rear windows. There's no real blind spot in the car. So yeah, it's okay. You've also got the brake regeneration. You can adjust through 3 different levels, 1, 2 or 3, using this little KERS button down here. In 3, it's at its most aggressive. And again, it comes in quite nicely. It's not quite one pedal driving, but it's okay. You know, it's perfectly, as I say, I'm using the word a lot, but acceptable is the easiest way to sort of like describe it. And the pedal itself has a lot more feel than some of the other cars that we've driven recently, which is quite nice too. The one, mentioning the Citroen C4, the one criticism I had of that car where the MG is slightly better is the steering. It's got quite a meaty feel to it. There's a bit more weight behind it. You can kind of feel a little bit more where the wheels are going, which is quite nice. It's not as light. It's got a bit more weight behind the car, behind the steering rack, and I like that. It's nice. The driving modes you have as well, where you've got normal, eco and sport. I've just been using it in normal mode. You put it in sport and it really picks up. You know, it's got quite a nice throttle response from it. So that's quite a surprise, you know, given that, as I say, it's dynamically not a particularly sporty car, but when it's in sport mode, you get a real slug of torque. And you can really feel the difference between normal and sport. Eco mode obviously is just when you're trying to just eke out that very last mile. You're playing your game of charge roulette. Now, as I said earlier, there are two models in the MG5 range. There's the lead-in Excite at 24,495 and this, the higher spec exclusive model, at 26,995, and both of those prices do include the plug-in car grant that's currently available from the UK government at time of filming. So it's a bit of a bargain. I mean, I don't want to trivialise £27,000, but it is a bit of a bargain when you consider that this is a 5-door practical family estate car that's capable of over 200 miles on a single charge. But sticking with pricing as well, if you were a company car driver or a small business owner and you wanted to sort of combine family and business together, given the benefits in kind that currently EVs attract from the company car tax, this is a compelling argument. Now, this is where this car really starts to claw back an awful lot of its foibles. Makes a lot of sense. So what other cars are you going to look at when you're looking at the MG5? There isn't any. This is the only EV estate car currently on sale in the UK today. And as I say, price-wise, it is a bit of a bargain. Perversely, if you are to look at competition for the car, then the closest competitor probably comes from MG itself with the ZS crossover, because it's a similar price, it's a similar size, it's as practical, it's similarly well equipped and gives you good value for money. Okay, the range is a bit down. I think it's about 163 miles in comparison with 214. But given the love of the SUV and crossover that has taken over from the estate car, that's probably the car's closest competitor, MG itself.
So here's what we like and what we don't like about the MG5. We like its value for money, the standard equipment on offer, its comfort, the refinement and the warranty package. We don't like the styling is a bit plain. The rear seats won't fold completely flat, some of the interior plastics feel a little bit cheap, and the driver aids are not available on this car.
So how do we sum up the MG5? It's a bit of a car of two halves, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, look, it's too plain and forgettable to worry people coming from things like a Ford Focus estate or say a Leon or a Volkswagen Golf. It's dynamically inferior, and for some, a dynamically inferior car wearing the MG badge probably still going to be a bit unforgivable. But then there's the other side of that coin, because the value for money that it gives and the practicality, and if all you want is, you're not caring about the badge, you're not caring about dynamics, all you want is just a small practical family estate car that costs buttons to run and you're intrigued about going electric, then there's nothing to touch the MG5. Would I buy it for myself? No. Would I recommend it for someone? Most definitely, yeah. Thank you for watching AutoEV. Please remember to like and subscribe, and check out our new website if you haven't been there already, where all our road test library of videos is there for your viewing pleasure. We'll see you again soon. So, you've watched our video. It's now my job to tell you to like and subscribe, and press the little bell button to receive notification of when our next video is uploaded.